This conference will now be recorded.
Hi everyone, good morning. Today we start a new concept. We will start discussing a new concept called adapters. Adapters, okay? Let me see if you go to, you can search for even documentation, Oracle SOA adapters. Okay, there are so many adapters. Of course, you can find list of adapters. Okay, so you can also find the documentation about adapters. You can see your GA developer. Um, Here in the list, you can see the adapters, technology adapters, application adapters, third-party cloud adapters. You can see all the adapters. Okay, there are few adapters comes with your J developer as inbuilt components. Okay, as inbuilt component. Uh, there are few adapters, even I mean custom adapters also there, which will not come along with your J developer, but we need to do little bit setup to get them. Anyway, first we'll see what is this adapter concept is. Okay, adapter. So guys, we have two types of web services, right? REST web service and SOAP web service. And we already saw a bunch of examples with SOAP web service, SOAP protocol, and how to build a SOAP web service, how to test the SOAP web services. We already saw some examples. REST web services, I did not show you. We'll talk about it. In the previous session, we discussed about how to write a JSON, right? That concept will help us when we are using the REST adapter. There is something called REST adapter. We'll see some example. With that REST adapter, we can build REST web services. I will show you examples, don't worry, but that is also one of the adapter. So here, the main objective of an adapter is to process an object which is not compatible with SOAP web service and REST web service. I want to process something, either read it or write it or something. I want to process an object which is not compatible format for a SOAP web service and a REST web service. Let's assume an example. I have a file. I have a file. Let's say notepad file. I have a notepad file with content. Okay. Uh, let's say, let me show you one example. I have a notepad file, something like this. It contains student number, student name, student got some marks. He got some marks in English, marks in Hindi, marks in mathematics. Okay. So he got some marks in mathematics, something like this. Give me a second. So I have a notepad file. I have a notepad file with some information like this: student number, name, marks in English, Hindi, mathematics. Okay, something like this. So this is not an XML file. This is not a JSON. This is a plain text. Plain text, and it is in the notepad. Okay, it is in the notepad. Let me take few more examples. Okay, something like this. So let's assume, let me save this file. I'm in my data. This is what my data looks like. Okay, let me save this guy. I will save it on my desktop. Why it is taking time? I will keep it on my desktop with a naming convention. Okay, some name. I will give some name. What happened to my machine? stu info. Okay, some name, and it's a normal text file. That means the extension is .txt. You can see I just saved this file. So let's assume this is my file. This is my data. It is not XML. It is not XML. It is not JSON, but I want to process this data. I want to process this data and do something. What is that something? You can see in the examples. But to process this kind of data, Okay, it's not XML, which is not JSON, and it is not compatible to SOAP web service and not REST web service. Okay, so to process such data, we can use a concept called adapters. In Oracle SOA suite, we have a concept called adapters. Okay, so what are all the different data we can process by using adapters? And each different type data, we have different adapter as well. I mean, to process the file content, to process a file, we have something called file adapter and FTP adapter. I will tell you what is the difference between file adapter and FTP adapter, but both can process a file. Okay, it can be, file can be in notepad format, file can be a CSV format, file can be an image, file can be a PDF. So what are all it can do, I will explain more detail. Okay, and suppose if we want to process the data which is in a table, so we have database adapter. Okay, so we have Oracle apps adapter. So this Oracle apps adapter, I mean, I will try to explain some information about, but I'm just giving the examples. Okay, we have something called JMS adapter. Okay, we have something called AQ adapter. So this way we have bunch of technology adapters. We have bunch of technology adapters. We can use them to process something which is not compatible to SOAP and REST services. Okay, right. Let me go more detail about file and FTP adapter. Okay, so by using file and FTP adapter, we can process file content. When I said processing file content, it is reading the file, writing the file, okay, do some modifications in the file, delete the file. Okay, so these kind of operations we can do by using file and FTP adapter. But there is a little difference between file and FTP adapter. There is a thin line. There is a little difference where when exactly I have to use file adapter and when exactly I have to use an FTP adapter. Okay, so that depends on the configuration. Let's see. So you have SOA server. Okay, this is, assume this is your WebLogic SOA server. Okay, this is a machine, right? I mean, first we have a machine. In this machine in the sense a computer. Okay, in this machine we installed SOA server. We can install the SOA server, right? So I installed a SOA server in my machine. Okay, see, I'm not talking about JDeveloper here. I'm talking about just the SOA server. Okay, there is a machine. Within the machine we installed a SOA server. Okay, this is a machine. It can be a Linux operated system or Windows operated system, any machine. It can be Unix, Linux, or Windows, any machine. Okay, it contains any operating system, but that machine contains file system, correct? Whatever the operating system it is, but it contains the file system. That means this is the file system. If you go to my folder, see, this is the file system. I have C drive, D drive, E drive, so something this way. We have file system. If you go to something, go to the subfolder, you can see so many subfolders and files. This is all file system. The same file system is available in every operating system. Okay, suppose you have a machine which contains SOA server. So within the machine, by using a SOA program, okay, this is a SOA program. What I want to do, I want to read a file. Just assume I want to read a file. Now the question is, where is the file? Let's say the file is in the same machine. The file is in the same machine, some folder. It is some folder in C drive, D drive, something. C, A, B, C folder. Okay, this is the folder. This is the folder we have. In this folder, I have a file. Okay, to read this file, the file which is local to SOA server. But that means SOA server and the file both exist on the same machine. In that case, you have to use file adapter. You have to use file adapter. Any question? Any question from anyone? File adapter. Okay, so the SOA server and the file which we want to process, if both are in the same machine, then we use file adapter. Let's assume I have a different machine. In this machine, we installed a software called FTP server. What is the software name? FTP server. Okay. In this machine, this is also a machine, just another machine, that's it, nothing else. So this is machine, and in this machine also we have some operating system. In this machine, I installed a software called FTP server. Within the FTP server, I have a file. Okay, so if you want to process this file, then what we need to do, we need to use something called FTP adapter in our SOA program. Okay, so both will do the same job. File adapter and FTP adapter will do the same job, but the thin difference between them, if the SOA program, I mean the SOA server and the file which we want to process, if both are in the same machine, we should use file adapter. SOA server and SOA program, and the file which we want to process, is under the FTP server. Mostly when we use FTP server, when we want to process a file system which is remote to us, not local, then we use FTP server. Okay, so in that case, we must use FTP adapter to process the file. Okay, now you tell me, guys, I have a question. In this machine, in the machine where I have SOA server, in the same machine, I installed another software called FTP server. Possible? Not possible? I installed one more software called FTP server. Is it possible or not? Yes, it is possible. In a machine, you can install any number of softwares. Okay, so here I have a file. So if you want to process this file, which adapter you want to use? File adapter or FTP adapter?
FTP adapter, sir.
File adapter.
Why file adapter? Why FTP adapter? Okay, let's go one by one. Why you said file adapter?
Within the
I
same
need
mission,
to
we
use,
need to. Within the
have
same
a
mission, we
file.
need.
Within the same machine?
So file and FTP within the same mission, no, sir. So that's why we are using file adapter.
Okay, so to answer this question, guys, you can use either file adapter or FTP adapter, because the file is local to the machine. File is local to SOA server, so you can utilize the file adapter to process this. Of course, the file is under the control of FTP server, so you can also use it by you can also process it by using FTP adapter. So both options you can utilize in this combination. But if you see this file, this is not under FTP server, so you cannot process it by using FTP adapter. This file is not under the control of FTP server, right? So you must use file adapter. Okay, this file, you have both the options. Either you can use file adapter or you can use FTP adapter, because this is local to the SOA server and also under the control of FTP server. Any questions? Any questions from anyone? Do you understand the concept, how the file adapter behaves and how the FTP adapter behaves? Hope you understand.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me take an example. File adapter. Okay, just let me save this diagram. Done. So now what I want to do is, I want to I want to implement a SOA project. I want to implement a SOA project. I need a program. Read file from inbound folder and process the data and write the processed data into outbound folder in a file format. Okay, I want to read a file from inbound folder. I'm just calling a folder as inbound folder. Process the data, whatever logic we have, we want to process the data, and then I want to write the file into an outbound folder. Okay, so what I want to do is, let's take this example. Let's assume I have the file content like this. I have a file content like this: student number, student name, marks in 3 different subjects. This way I have collection of records. See, this is record 1, record 2, record 3. We have collection of records. What I want to do is, I want to read this file for each student. I want to identify the total marks. Okay, I want to calculate total marks for each student. So that means my expectation, my outbound file, something looks like this way. Student number, student name, and total marks. See, I'm just showing you sample. I'm not giving you the exact or accurate information. This is not the accurate data. I'm showing you the sample data. Okay, student number, student name, and total marks. This is what I am expecting. Are we good? Okay, so this is my sample inbound file. This concentrate on the format, no need to concentrate on the data. Format, when I said format, the structure of the data: student number, student name, English marks, Hindi marks, maths marks, something like this, the structure. In the output, what I'm expecting student number, student name, and total marks. That's it. Okay, so that means my input is a file and my output also a file format. Let me save this file: student result. Okay, it's a text file, .txt file. See here, I'm using these 2 files as format. Okay, just to make you understand. I want you to understand what is the requirement is. Okay, I just want to make you understand. So if you got the file as input, the file is the input, and file contains this kind of information. In our BPEL process, I want to calculate the total marks and generate the outbound file, something like this, in this format. Requirement is clear. How to do, we'll see, but the requirement part should be clear for you. Okay, now this inbound folder, the file, the inbound file, the student info is the input file. I'm calling it as inbound file. Inbound folder, outbound folder, both the folders I want to maintain local to SOA server. 2 folders, inbound folder, outbound folder, both the folders I want to maintain them local to SOA server. So in that case, to process the inbound file, to write the outbound file, we should use FileAdapter. Because my understanding, I told you, right, I want to maintain inbound folder and outbound folder local to SOA server. Wherever my SOA server is running, in the same machine, I want to maintain my inbound folder and outbound folder. Then we must use FileAdapter. Correct? Suppose my SOA server is in one machine, inbound folder or outbound folder, if they are in a different machine, or if they are under the FTP server, we can use FTP adapter. Are we good? So now in this example, I want to show you how to use this file adapter. Okay, so hope your requirement is clear for everybody. Just let me know.
Yes, sir, clear.
Clear, right? Okay. So now let me go back to JDeveloper. So guys, in the previous session, I did not committed the security part. Let me complete it. Let me commit the security part. Okay. Git GUI. Order processing system. Commit all required files. We just enabled security part in building system as well as order processing system, right? So building system. Let me rescan. Okay, check if any dependent file I left in the repository. Jar not required, graphic file not required. Building system, within the building system, yeah, this one. Okay, anything else? No other file required. Done. Okay. Implemented security in VS and OPS. I forgot to commit in the last session. Let me do the commit and I will push the code. Okay, commit done, close it, go back to git checkout main branch, git pull horizon feature slash security. Okay, horizon feature slash security, done. Git GUI. Let me push it to the main branch. Done. So I'm able to sync my main branch with the security code. Now let me create a new branch. Git branch feature slash file adapter. Okay. Or let's say adapter. It's your choice. I mean, I want to show you different examples, not just file adapter. Okay, let me create a file adapter branch. Git checkout adapter. Okay, done. So now, so guys, I want to start a new program. Okay, new, go to project, so what are, create a new project. Guys, I will name it as practice adapters. Okay, I'm just giving some name, practice adapters. So guys, by using SOA program, if you want to read a file, you need to use an adapter called file adapter. You can see in the list, there is something called file adapter and FTP adapter, but our assumption, our requirement is we want to process a file which is local to SOA server. Underline this statement, guys, local to SOA server. Based on that, you design the program. So the file which we want to process is local to SOA server. My SOA server, where is my SOA server? My SOA server is running in this machine. The machine which I am using right now, local host. I will call this machine as local host. So my SOA server is running in local host machine, and the file which I want to process is also in the same machine. Okay, suppose the file you want to process is in machine A, your SOA server is in machine B, then you have to use FTP adapter. Okay, so now I will start with my file adapter. So guys, by using file adapter, you can perform different operations like read a file, write a file, okay, asynchronous read of a file, list of files. There are several operations I will show you. First, I want to start with read operation. Okay, let me drag drop the adapter in this service pane. So guys, this is a self-start adapter. When you are keeping this adapter in the service pane, it's a generally what is the service component? It's an initiator, right? So that is the starting point of your program. Suppose if it is a SOAP web service, generally a client has to initiate the request. Client should submit the request from SOAP UI, from Enterprise Manager, from browser, or from another program. So these are all the different clients we have. Okay, so for by using any client application, you need to submit the request. Then only your program will start. But when we are using adapters like file, FTP, database, JMS, if you use the adapters as service component, they will be treated as self-start adapters. They are they do self-start. I mean, a client or a customer, no need to kick it start. Okay, so it will start by its own. I will show you the configuration. Even though there is no input, even though there is nothing, but this program can start by its own. Okay, I will show you anyway. So what I will do here, this is a file adapter, right? I want to say file read stu info. I want to read a file. This is a file adapter. I want to read the content of student info. I'm just giving some naming convention. It's not a fixed keyword. Okay. Click next. Now, so to process a file, I'm configuring an adapter. Of course, even though I am configuring an adapter, it will internally build a WSDL. This adapter, the ultimate goal of this adapter is to build a WSDL, a web service compatible to read a file. Okay, that is the ultimate goal of this wizard, this configuration of this wizard. So this guy is asking, do you have any WSDL defined? See, what is the statement here? Defined from operation and schema. So the intention here is we need an interface. Interface is nothing but WSDL. We need an interface. Generally, how we define an interface or a WSDL, we need XSD. We need XSD and the operation, correct? So without XSD and operation definition, we cannot build a WSDL. So this guy is asking, this wizard is asking, you want to define it, or do you have a WSDL? Import an existing WSDL. Okay, so guys, we already know how to write a WSDL, but we never created a WSDL to read a file. We know the WSDL how to process an XML data, request in XML format, response in XML format. We can build a WSDL to process request XML and response XML. Okay, but this time it is not the request response XML format. This time we want to process a notepad file, a text file. Okay, we never saw how to design the WSDL to read a notepad file. Okay, so instead of importing an existing WSDL, what I want to define it. I want to create it with the help of this wizard. Okay, let's select the first option. Go next. Suppose guys, if you are already comfortable and you know how to write a WSDL to read a file, okay, then you can import it. If you have the WSDL handy with you, you can import it, not an issue. But as of now, we never discussed how to write a WSDL to read a file. Okay, we every time we saw a WSDL which can process request XML data and response XML data, but not for notepad files, text files. Okay, right. So I want to go for define it. Okay, you should go next. And then here you can use the file adapter JNDI. Leave the default one, don't change anything. I will talk about JNDI further. In the next example, I will talk about this. For now, just leave it and leave it whatever it is there. Click next. See guys, these are all the different operations we have in file adapter: read file, write file, synchronous read, list files, and chunk read. In this example, I want to show you the read file. I just want to read the file. Okay, and then see this, the operation name, it is auto-populated. You don't need to do anything here. When I selected this option, the operation name auto-populated. You can rename it, not an issue, but ideally it is not suggestible to rename. Okay, even though you rename it, the adapter will perform only read file operation. It will not do the other operation. Okay, Right. So there are several options here, several options. I just want to use only few options in this example. We can explore few other options going forward. Okay. So as of now, I'm not using any option, but guys, when you are doing the practice, read every statement on this wizard, read every keyword on this wizard. Okay. Somehow they will be helpful to you. First, read every instruction when you are running this wizard. Every statement, whether you use it, you may not use it, just you read everything. Okay, click next. So step number 5, this is very important configuration, guys. So directory name specified as, that means I want to read the file is in a folder, the folder path, there is a path for the folder, right? So I want to say you can supply the folder in two different ways, physical path and logical name. In this example, I want to use physical path. That means I need to tell where is my inbound file. Where is my inbound file that I need to configure here. Okay, let me choose a folder in my machine. Okay, I will say in F drive, I will create practice adapter, some folder. I created some folder. Within this, this is example 1. Okay, file adapter example 1. File adapter example 1. Sorry, guys. Okay, so within this, I want to create a folder called inbound, and I want to create another folder called outbound, and I also want to create another folder called backup. Okay, it's your choice. I mean, again, the folder names are not fixed naming convention, guys. Folder name can be ABC, XYZ, M and O. No need to have the same naming convention. You can have any name. Okay, so now let's assume I want to read the file from this location. So get the path, use it in your adapter configuration. So here I configured physical path, so I provided it here. Click enter button in your keyboard. So once you enter the path, you need to click enter button in your keyboard, otherwise this property will not be saved. Okay, done. Next, so there is a checkbox, process files recursively. That means, okay, this is clear. You want to process files from inbound folder. You want to read files from inbound folder. Let's assume this inbound folder contains subfolders. Do you want to process the file? Do you want to read the files even from subfolders? Then you need to select this option. Process files recursively. It means under inbound folder, if you have subfolders, under the subfolder, if you have the file to read, even that subfolder, if you want to read, you can select this checkbox. If you don't want to read the subfolder, you can uncheck this checkbox. Okay, and then the next option is archive processed files. It means what happened, this adapter, the behavior of this adapter is, see here, there is another checkbox, delete files after successful retrieval. So what I mean is, in this folder, in the inbound folder, if you have 10 files, okay, so your program will process each file. One by one, your program, each file, your program read the file and do the required business logic, execute the required business logic. That way, if you have 10 files in your inbound folder, read the first file and then delete the file, okay? Read the second file and delete the file. So once the file processed, which is an inbound folder, if the file read by the adapter, delete it from the folder, okay? But what I want to do is, I want to have a backup, archive processed files. I mean, we are deleting it once we read, I mean, file adapter, once it read the file from inbound folder, adapter is going to delete the file from inbound. But it's not suggestible to delete the runtime data. It's all business data, right? So it's always better to have a backup. we need to archive the file, delete it from inbound and archive into another folder. Archive the file into another folder. That way we can avoid duplicate processing. Okay, we no need to reprocess. Suppose if I leave the file in the same inbound folder, there is a chance of duplicate processing. So what I want to do, I'm telling the adapter, once you read the file, delete the file from inbound, have a backup in the archive folder. Are we good? So here it is asking what is the folder path, the archive folder path. So what I want to do, go to my backup folder, get the path, use this path as my backup folder. Are we good? Are we good, sir? Done. So once this will be considered as your backup folder. So file will be deleted from inbound folder and placed it into backup folder. Done. Click next. So once you click next, so here it is asking file naming expression. File naming expression. So you want to your inbound file folder contain hundreds of files. Let's assume. Okay. Let's assume you have bunch of files related to student information. You have bunch of files related to order information. Okay, so what file you want to process? You want to process all files because student information content and structure is different. Order information content and structure is different. Okay, so which file you want to process, and there is some filtering mechanism by looking into the file name. Okay, so what I want to say, suppose if the file name starts with stu, and ends with .txt, file name starts with stu and ends with .txt, in between these two keywords something like star, anything. Star means anything. Okay, suppose studentinfo.txt, stuabc.txt. So if the file name starts with stu, ends with .txt, read that file. If the file name starts with stu, ends with .txt, read the file. Is it clear, sir? Everybody? Okay. Suppose if the file name is orderinfo.txt. So as per this expression, orderinfo.txt is not matching the expression. So adapter, even though orderinfo file is in your inbound folder, your file adapter will not touch the file because the file name is not matching with the expression. Okay, so guys, these are all two different languages. File wildcard is one language, regular expressions is one language. Okay, so you can go to Google and check what are all the different expressions. Star is just example. There are so many other examples as well. Let's assume my file name starts with an alphabet. First character starts with an alphabet. Second character must be an integer. Third character is an alphabet. In that format, if the file name exists, then only read the file. You can set an expression. So, but you need to explore file wildcards, regular expression. These are all different expression languages. You can go through Google. It's not just SOVA. It is, these expression languages are used in other programming languages as well. This is not just limited to SOVA. Okay, when I get time, I will show you these expressions as well. But meantime, you can also explore in Google how to write different regular expressions, how to write different file wildcard expressions. Okay, as of now, I took a simple example. Done. So file name should start with stu, ends with txt. Okay, click next. Now, so guys, this is important feature. I told you right in the beginning, the adapter is a self-start adapter. The adapter, whatever you are using, file adapter with read operation, only read operation. Other operations are not self-start adapter. Suppose write adapter, synchronous read adapter, these are all not self-start. Only read operation is self-start. So when I said self-start, it will start by its own based on the frequency what we configure here. Let's say if I said 10 seconds, for every 10 seconds, my adapter will start by its own. And try to read a file from the inbound folder if a file exists. If there is no file, adapter will not do anything. Okay, whether the file exists in the inbound folder, file may not exist in the inbound folder. For every 10 seconds, my program will start by its own and go to the inbound folder, check is there any file. If file exists, read the file. If file not exists, don't read the file. Okay, do nothing. If file not exists, do nothing. Okay, but file exist or not exist is not matter. Your adapter will start for every 10 seconds. Your adapter will try to find a file in the inbound folder for every 10 seconds. Okay, done. Next thing, once you click next button, so here it is asking you to provide, see, the ultimate goal of this adapter configuration is to build a WSDL. If you want to build a WSDL, there must be a XSD. Without XSD, you cannot build a WSDL. So this guy is asking XSD. So guys, this is read everything. I told you, right? Read every statement here, read every message, but I will summarize what is this. So what they are asking is, we need an XSD to process the file. There must be a structure in the file. We cannot process unstructured files. Okay, file data must contain a structure. There must be some structure. Okay, so what it is saying, what is the structure of your file? Okay, if you already have an XSD handy for your file structure, you can browse the XSD. If you think you don't have an XSD for your file structure, you need to build the XSD. I want to build an XSD. We know how to write an XSD, but we write the XSD only for XML data. But this time it is asking an XSD for the file content. Okay, so I don't have an XSD to browse. I want to build XSD. Just click on this define schema for native format. Define schema for native format. So earlier we defined the schema for XML, but this time it is define schema for native format. Native format means the text file. Okay, just click on the icon. You will get one more wizard to build the XSD. You don't need to write any coding. Everything is wizard based. Just click on it. You will get a new wizard. This wizard will help you to build the XSD for file adapter. Okay, just read every instruction and go next. You can see here, you can give a naming convention. I want to say file stu info definition. stu info, that's a file adapter. Let's say file adapter stu info. I'm just giving some naming convention to my XSD. It's just a user defined keyword. You can give any naming convention. Okay, so this is my XSD name. Click next. So how it is asking, what is the behavior of your data? See, my data, there are several options we have: delimited, fixed length, complex type, DTD, COBOL. So there are multiple formats. Okay. Currently, my inbound file is a delimited file. That means, see the data, how it is. 103, comma is a delimiter, psi, comma, integer, comma, integer, comma, integer. So the same format we are following for all records. Structured data. This is a structured data, and here the delimiter is a comma. So not only comma, guys, you can use any special characters. You can use multiple special characters as the delimiters. But anyway, whatever the special character you use as a delimiter, it's a delimited file. It is called a delimited file, not just comma. Suppose I want to use dollar symbol as my delimiter. I want to use empty space, just an empty space as my delimiter. Yes, even that is also a delimiter document. So current example is a delimited document. Click next. Okay, so it is asking a sample data. Suppose, guys, whenever I ask you to build an XSD, I should tell you, right? I should tell you what is the data format I am expecting. So if I simply say write an XSD, we don't know what are all the elements we need to include in the XSD, correct? So, but whenever I am asking you to write an XSD, I also need to give you some sample information. Some information I need to give you. Okay, I need an XSD. The data contains one complex element, one simple element as an integer, another simple element as a string, something like that. I need to give you a sample, then only you can build the XSD. Okay, otherwise you cannot build the XSD. The same way here, this wizard is helping us. This wizard is helping us to build the XSD for file adapter WSDL. So it is asking some sample data. Can you show me how the file looks like? So what I will do, I already prepared a sample file on my desktop. Okay, this is the sample file which we are able to see in our notepad, right? So this is the sample file I have. I want to give that sample file to this wizard. So browse the sample file. It is just the sample file to understand. I mean, the adapter want to understand how the file looks like. Okay, it's not the runtime processed data. It is just a sample file. Where is my desktop? Go to desktop. You can see studentinfo.txt, studentinfo.txt as my sample. As my sample, you can see the file loaded into the adapter with the sample data. Your file loaded into the adapter with sample data. Are we good? Any questions? Any questions? No? So guys, when you are doing the practice, read every option. You may not use the option, but read it. First read it. Later I will discuss about different options in different examples. Okay. First read it, everything. Done. So see, it is saying C1, C2. So, but what is our understanding? What is our understanding? This is not C1. 103 is not C1. Our understanding is 103 means student number. Sai is student name. This is English marks, Hindi marks, mathematics marks, or some other marks. Okay. So it's not C1, C2, C3, C4, C5 I'm expecting. I'm expecting a different naming convention. Yes, we have an option going forward. Okay. We'll see that. But I just provided a sample data to this wizard to understand the data format. Okay. Click next. Okay. Now so read the options here. So what it is asking is your file, the runtime file, what we want to process. The file contain only one record or multiple records. Okay. So in our case, my file contain multiple records, not just one record. Not just one record. My file contain multiple records because the sample itself, I am saying, if you have more than one record, it's a multiple record. 2 records, 3 records, 100 records, 1000 records, 10 lakh records, 1 crore records. Your file may contain any number of records. If it is more than one, you think your file contain more than one record, you need to say multiple record instances. Okay. So there are cases your file always contain only one record, then you can go with the first option. The intention here is we are telling the wizard it is an array. My file contain collection of records. That means it's an array, right? And then see here, we have an option. Multiple records are of different type. Multiple records are of single type. Means all your records contain same structure or different structure. Suppose if your file contain different format of records. Suppose let's say there are files, header data, line data. Okay. So that I will show you a few examples. Okay. At that time, we need to go for different types. Multiple records are of different types. Okay. But in our current example, all records having same format. So I selected multiple records are of single type. Okay. You can choose, you can process different files. We'll see. But now I'm using this format. Okay. Click next. Right. So it is asking you are going to build an XSD, right? XSD needs a namespace, target namespace. You can give your own naming convention. I will say practice.com June something, some format I'm giving. Okay. That's it. Some target namespace I configured here, some target namespace, and it's a file adapter, read operation, some naming convention. You can follow whatever the convention is comfortable for you. Okay, now this is very important. Enter name of element containing multiple records. Enter name for element that will represent record. Okay, contain multiple records and represent record. 2 elements it is asking. 2 elements. Okay, so what I will do, I will say student info, student record, or student collection, student record. Okay, so guys, these two are user defined keywords. User defined keywords. I'm saying the first one, it's a collection element. It's a collection element, and the second one is a record element. What I mean by it, let's see. So what really happened? Your SOA program, by using file adapter, when we read this file, this is a plain content. Plain content. Okay. Our objective is calculate the total marks. For each record, calculate the total marks. This is our objective. Okay. So once your BPEL process read this file, it has to, I mean, after that, a BPEL component has to process the data. Okay. When we want to process the data, BPEL component cannot process this plain text. BPEL always expect the data in XML format. That means your file adapter Once it read the file, your file adapter converts the plain text data into XML format. Your file adapter converts the plain text data into XML format, something like this. Student collection, okay, under student collection, student record, under student record, SID, student name, I'm saying yes name, English marks, Hindi marks, okay, and then something maths, student record. See, this way your record, each record converted into XML format. So this is one record, same way second record, same way third record. Okay, I'm not changing the entire data, I'm just changing the ID. Okay, now what happened? Your file adapter reads this file. Your file adapter has the inbuilt capability to convert the plain text into XML format. When it converts the plain text into XML format, what is the root element? What is the collection element it needs to maintain? This is asking the name of the collection records, the element name to maintain. So I said student collection. So the collection element, this is the collection element. Okay. So you need to use this collection element. Okay. With this naming convention, whatever the name you provided here, that will be used in your XML. See, enter name of element contain multiple records. This element contain multiple records. This element contain multiple records. This is one record, this is second record, this is third record, correct? So the element which contains collection of records, and the second option is enter a name for element that will represent record. So this element I want to use to represent the record. Student record is the representation of one record. Okay. So suppose if you say ABC and XYZ, the same convention will be in the XML format. Okay. And here, so you are clear with the collection element, the element which contain collection of records, the element which represents the record. Okay, these two clear, right? And this, what is this SID name? How we got SID name? Yeah, we are going to define even these keywords. We are going to define. As of now, the sub-elements are representing as C1, C2, C3, C4, C5. Okay, in the next step, we configure them. Let me go to the next step. Okay, so here it is asking your delimited, records delimited by next line. See, each record, this record and the second record, records delimited by next line. If you click the enter button, that's the next line, correct? So here you can see an option, end of line, end of file. My delimiter is end of line. If you click enter button, that's an end of line. Your control goes to the next line. Okay. So this is a delimiter, and it is also asking your field delimiter. Field delimiter, student number, comma, student name, comma, English marks, comma. So comma is my delimiter. So there are other options, single space, comma, semicolon, tab. You can use anything as your delimiter. Not only restricted to these four, you can also use any other character as a delimiter. Let's say I want to use dollar as my delimiter. We have an option. I will show you, but here we don't have the option in the drop down list, but I will show you how to provide dollar as a delimiter. Okay. So here, two important options in this screen. One is delimited by, records delimited by, and fields delimited by. Fields delimited by. Okay. So these two options you need to select and then go to the next screen. And now here it is asking the sub-element names. Sub-element name. So my sub-element name is not C1. I want to say SID, and this is yes name. This is English marks. This is Hindi marks, and this is maths. Okay, and you can also do the correction for the data type. SID is an integer, string, integer. I'm okay. Suppose if you want to change everything, You want to change the data type? Yes, you can change the data type. Okay, now you see here, instead of C1, C2, what we have? We have a different naming convention as per our expectation. Correct? So the sub-element names we modified. Sub-element names. Now our assumption is this format of data we are expecting after file adapter read the file. Okay, done. Now click next. See this, guys, this is the XSD generated. This is the XSD generated with this wizard. Let me copy the entire XSD. I will paste it in a notepad file. Okay, I will paste it in a notepad file. Observe the XSD. See here, there are few new things. There are few new things. We know complex element, how to define a complex element, how to define a simple element. We know what is min occurs and max occurs, right? This is an array. Student record becomes an array. This is the root element. This is the record element, and these are all the sub elements. Okay, but here there are few new things. Something like style. Style is an attribute. Style is an attribute, and also observe, guys, the style attribute has a qualifier. Earlier we never see attribute with qualifiers. See, name is an attribute, type is an attribute, min occurs is an attribute, max occurs is an attribute. There is no qualifier. Okay, but style is an attribute with qualifier because this guy is using a different namespace. Okay, so style is a new element terminated by comma. Okay, so guys, suppose if you want to use the dollar symbol as separator, okay, delimiter, then you can come to this XSD documents, because the dollar symbol is not available in the drop down list, right? So let's generate the XSD with the comma, and once it is done, what you can do, come to this XSD and change, instead of comma you can use the dollar symbol. Suppose you want to use the dollar symbol as the delimiter. Okay, and after math, the delimiter is end of line, EOL, end of line. Okay, so this is the last field in one record. Last field in one record. Okay, right. So every record contains 5 fields. Each field uses comma as the delimiter, and the last field is using end of line as the delimiter. That means control goes to the next line. Next record will start. Okay, so this is how the XSD generated. This is called NXSD, native XSD, native format XSD. XSD for native format data. Okay, this is not the XSD for XML. This is the XSD for native format data. Okay, done. Now, so XSD is ready. Simply click next button and finish. So what we did, we just built an XSD. We built an XSD. You can see in your program an XSD generated. An XSD generated in your program, under your SOA project, under schema folder. Then click next and finish. Once you click finish, a file adapter will be generated in your service component. A file adapter will be generated here. You can see this is the file adapter. By using this file adapter, I can read a file which is in inbound folder, and the file naming convention should match with the name expression. In that case, it will read the file, delete the file from inbound folder, and have a backup in the archive folder. Okay, and convert the data into XML format. And my BPEL process will start processing it. Okay, what I will do, I will use my BPEL process, drag drop a BPEL process, and then, guys, I don't want synchronous or asynchronous web service. I don't want either synchronous or asynchronous. I want to go with no service. I want to go with no service because I want to use my file adapter as my service component. I don't want a SOAP web service, REST web service, or nothing. I want a no service adapter, no service BPEL process, because I want to use my BPEL process as my service component. Okay, I will say practice adapter BPEL, and it is define service later. Say okay. Okay, now if you see this BPEL process, there are no activities inside. Now create a binding, create a wire between your file adapter and BPEL process. Done. Once you do this, your BPEL process can able to see the file adapter now as a partner link. Now, how to receive the input from this file adapter? You can use either receive activity or pick activity. You know what is the receive activity and pick activity, right? In this example, I want to go with pick activity. There is a purpose going forward. I want to do something. For that reason, I'm using pick activity. But anyway, pick activity on message branch is equivalent to receive activity, correct? So let me configure the on message branch. First, double click on the pick activity. See, if you place the mouse here, this is on message, the label. You observe the label on message. If I place the mouse here, you observe the label pick. So click on pick, double click on pick activity, select the create instance, done, and then go to on message branch, configure the on message branch. What is my partner link? My partner link is the file adapter. My file adapter, and I want a variable to store the data. I will name it as file read input variable. Okay, file adapter read operation input variable. Done. I just created a variable, say apply and OK. That means my on message branch will receive the data from file adapter and store the data into this variable. Okay, let's check the program till this point. Okay, so we cannot leave this branch empty. For time being, I will use the empty activity inside the on message branch. That means do nothing in this branch. Just receive the file. That's it. Nothing else. What with this program, whatever program we did now, right? With this program, what we are achieving, this file adapter will start by its own for every 10 seconds. Okay. Once it read the file, have a backup in the archive folder, convert the file content into XML format, give the XML format data to this BPEL process. So in the BPEL process, on message will receive the data and store the data into your input variable. This is what I want to see now. Okay, let's test the program, deploy and test the program. Finish. So once you deploy the code, you don't need any client applications like SOAP UI, Enterprise Manager, browser. You don't need any client application to test this program. To test this program, what you need to drop a file in the inbound folder. You need to drop a file. Okay, let's see. Let me open Enterprise Manager parallelly. Is the deployment completed? Okay, deployment completed, guys. From the point the deployment completed, your program will start. Your program will start for every 10 seconds. The polling frequency we configured in the file adapter, right? The polling frequency, I set it 10 seconds. So every 10 seconds, my program will start. Okay, let's see. I want to show you how the file got processed. Practice adapters, example 1, and I have backup folder. This is inbound folder. Okay, this is inbound, this is backup. Let me say I will prepare some content. Okay, student info, this is stu abc file, this is order abc file. Okay, so now if I place these three files, if I copy these three files and paste them into inbound folder, if I place them into inbound folder, what are all the files must be processed? stu abc and stu info must process. Order abc should not process because the file naming convention is not as expected. File naming convention is not as expected, so your adapter will not touch this file. Okay, but your adapter can process other files. Correct? Student abc, student info. Okay, when it processes other files, it has to put the file, a backup file, in the backup folder, archive folder. See the backup file, but I'm expecting two files. It is creating only one. Let's see. Let me place one more. Okay, before I test it once again, we did the first test, right? I placed three files in my inbound folder. What happened, we'll see. I placed 3 files in inbound folder. Out of 3 files, first file starts with stu info, second file stu abc, third file order abc. So order abc file naming convention not at all matching with the adapter configuration. So that file will not be processed by your adapter. Other 2 files need to be processed, but in the backend backup, I mean archive folder, I can see only 1 file. What happened? Go and check the instances. You can check the instances. Each file will be processed as a single instance. Okay, let's see how many instances created and what happened in the program. Any questions here? But still, I need to find out what happened for the second file. See, I got the student ABC, but I don't see the student info file here. What happened? We need to identify. I want to see the latest instances. See my practice adapter program executed 2 times. My practice adapter program executed 2 times because there are 2 inbound files. There are 2 inbound files. So 2 times it executed. Open the instance, first instance. So what happened here? Your read adapter read the file and data handed over to Beeple process. Within the Beeple process, your on message branch receives the data in XML format. See the XML format, the same data, 3 records we received in XML format. This is what our understanding, right? Your file adapter has the capability convert the plain data into XML format and hand over to Beeple. Is it clear? So this is the first file and also second file. Let me place one more file. What will happen? We'll see. Copy this and I will place a file in inbound folder. So your program will start every 10 seconds. It will start by its own. So we need to wait for some time. If it is not able to process the file for every 10 seconds, that means there is some wrong configuration in your program. Okay, done. See the second file also processed. Let me process the student info. Student info. Okay, student info also processed, but why the first file missed? Let me copy 2 files this time. What happened to this file? Okay, even that is also processed. Okay, so first attempt, I'm not sure, something wrong and the file was not recorded in the backup folder. But now you can observe these are all the different files. These are all the different files we processed. And see the naming convention here, the archive file naming convention. This is the original name of the file. The first keyword is the original name of the file, and this is some system generated convention. See, you can see some ID in the file name, some ID, right? It's a system generated convention and it is unique. It is unique, okay? With combination of timestamp. This is the date timestamp string, date and timestamp configuration in a string format. So with all this, it is creating a backup file. That means the same file, if you process multiple times, the same file, if you process multiple times, it won't override. It won't override the content. So if you place the file, again, it will create different new archive files. It create new archive files. Okay. Then each file will create each instance. In one instance, your SOA program is going to process only one file. Okay, you cannot process 2 files in one instance. Let's see the instances. I just refreshed. Okay, see all these instances. For each file, we have one instance. Are we good? Any question as of now? Any question? No? Right, I will stop here. We'll continue our next concept in tomorrow's session. Okay, let me stop the record.